conversation in the church, in particular in America, that what Jesus wants for you is prosperity. What Jesus wants for you is success. He wants you to make it. You're the king's kid, and you should be up here and not down there. And so if you're down there, the implication is what? Something wrong with you, right? You don't make faith work very good, and so you're damaged goods, I'm just sure. I want to, again, set one of those simple but profound truths in this story. Jesus has two main things in mind, and your success ain't one of them. Not that he doesn't want you in good. Turn to your neighbor and say, he wants good for you. But here's what he has in mind: the harvest and your partnership in it. That's what's primary on the mind of Jesus. Where is he ultimately on his way to in this story? The cross. Why? Read the book of Hebrews. Says, for the joy set before him, which is me, you, us. Well, if we're going to follow Jesus, where are we going? To people who need him on the way to heaven. Heaven's going to be awesome. And I don't think you can follow Jesus very long if you haven't just woke up on a Monday and go, Lord, could that be today? I'm just kind of sick and tired of the whole deal. And then your next thought was, okay, tomorrow, because we're having hamburgers for lunch. Right? We're just human, right? The harvest is plentiful, Jesus says, but the workers are few. Have you ever wondered why in your small part of the story there always seems to be more work than there is people to do? Because it reflects the bigger story. In the bigger story, Jesus says the harvest is plentiful, but workers are few. So we're asking, he says, pray to the Lord of the harvest. Lord, send more folks to join us in this harvest field. So I'm asking you, what is it like in your life as you're following the Lord? Are you out of your comfort zone a lot? And if and when you are you asking, Lord, did you send me here? And is your next question, okay, who needs you? Rather than, because here's how we roll most of the time, rather than, what's in this for me? It's very different. Becoming a disciple will be an adventure. I think often we can communicate in the church, becoming a disciple means learning 10 principles of how to study your Bible. Or, 6 principles of how to give when it hurts. Or, we get thoughts like that. When becoming a disciple is this rich, incredible adventure. Because who knows what's going to happen next? Where are we going next? Ultimately, with him, heaven, but in the in-between, we might be going to Martha's house, and I didn't meet her before. She might be a lousy cook. I don't know. I mean, she works hard. We know that from this story, and Mary's like, I just want to hang with Jesus. Here's my second fill in there. It should be fun. There is supposed to be joy in following him to places and people and situations that on the surface are at the very least uncomfortable. We've all got skills that we're comfortable with. If we, I'm going to pick on Levi, so he can take it. So Levi's got these incredible building skills. I mean, if you know something about a car, a house, water, how to fix your backhoe, call Levi. And Levi's like, yeah, I got that. I got the tools. I'm comfortable with that. But you roll into Levi and say, Levi, Tuesday night we're having this gathering. I've got about 800 guys, which, by the way, at this point we've taken about 1,000 guys through our Wild at Heart weekend. It's amazing. And guess who the speaker is? He's like, I don't know who. You. Levi's like, what? How comfortable would you be with that? Wouldn't be comfortable. And a lot of us, if Jesus gives us a heads up, we're like, I'm real sure I'm busy that night. Because or you're really good at the speaking part, and you roll into, Janice's house, and she says, Dwight went home to be with Jesus, and my refrigerator don't work. Can you fix that? No, but I could give it a good talking to. Right? We're so challenged and one-dimensional often in our skills, and we let that be a limitation, and we don't press through it and trust that whatever God calls you to or wherever he sends you to, he's going to resource you with what you need to pull it off. Because we get in these situations and we question whether or not we have what's required. Turn to your neighbor and say, you have what it takes. You have what it takes. So it's supposed to be fun, right? And here's the thing, in all of these situations, I'm going to start you off with a bag of these and just pass them around. These are Tootsie Roll Pops. Right here. You can make sure, Luke, you don't miss one of those. There's this surprise. When we follow him into situations that require a lot of us and we're not sure, there's this surprise of joy that is, listen to me now, before, I know you're getting your suckers, and you can open those and suck them right now. It's not the silver lining in a dark cloud. It's implanted joy that you can't get any other way but suck the outside of the sucker and get to the inside. Are you catching my point? Do you see what I'm talking about? If I will follow Jesus into the risky zone, in there is hidden these joys. And it's sweet and it's good and it's fun. If you're following Jesus is only serious and intense, I seriously question whether or not you're following the real Jesus. Turn to your neighbor and say, I got it. So here's my question, number one, as we go through this. Disciples go where Jesus goes. Do you? Do you? Do I? Number two, Jesus, and I love this in this story, has time for friends. He's got time for friends. And building relationships. We know that from, if you read the entire gospel, that later on, Lazarus is going to get sick and die. He's the brother of these two sisters. And he's going to show. Now, what appears to be too late, but it's actually right on time for the miracle. He's got relationship with this family. And he builds that with them. And so the question is, do I, do we, do you have time for friends? I was thinking about this the other day, and I just couldn't help but give you this feeling. If you're too busy for friends, you're just too busy. Yeah, but we got kids, and we got 13 sports for our 2 kids, and we got over here, and we got like this, and the Robs are all laughing, right, because we're over here, and we're over there, and we're over here. And we like you a lot, but we got no time for you. You know where I'm going with that. Finding time for friends. Jesus has time for friends. And if you're going to follow him, he'll lead you into friendships. Genuine ones. Although, go ahead and find somebody in the room and go, you're an awesome friend, but you're sometimes not that awesome. Isn't that true, right? Isn't it true? Sometimes I'm just not all that awesome. That's true, honey. But, here it is, but Jesus lives in me, and he wants to know you, and he wants to use me to get it done. Right? Good. I no longer call you servants, he says in John chapter 15, because a servant doesn't know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything that I learned from the Father, I have made known to you. I no longer call you, and that actual word servant in the Greek is slave. It would be real easy under this, there's a theology out there that basically lives on the premise that God is still angry. Yeah, I should shake my head, it's nuts. God is still angry, and you better shape up, and you better keep the rules, and the church that keeps the rules better than everybody else is the church that you should go to. And I always say, if you find that church, don't go there. Because they'll, expose your stuff. One of my favorites, there's a church, Jewel and I, we've church planted 5 times, and one of those church plants was in Helena, Montana. Loved our decade in Helena, Montana. And there was a church, and I won't tell you what church it was, but there was literally a 40-foot billboard in their parking lot that says, your sin will find you out. Welcome to whatever church. I'm like, I'm not going in there. God is not angry. That's all resolved in Jesus. He doesn't want something from us. He wants something for us, right? And he wants to give us his love. And here's another truth said in this story. You have to be friendly to have friends. It sounds silly, but it's so true. If you're not friendly, you probably won't have many friends. As a friend of Jesus, we need to walk closer to people who need God, not away from them. George Barna has done a lot of research and data collection, and one of the things he says in his research that he finds, once people find Christ, it's usually within 6 months they have 0 non-Christian friends. Well, I don't want to hang out with non-Christians because they're messy. They do dumb stuff. They say bad words. Luke's laughing. He's like, so do you. No. Most Christians, though it's true, have very few, or if any, what I mean, friends who are non-Christians. Oh, Christians have projects. You know what I'm talking about? You know that person that like you're pretending to be their friend because you want them to meet Jesus and you're on to your next project. Doesn't that just somehow just sound awful when I say it like that? That can't be right. That can't be right. What if our evangelism strategy as the Bridge Foursquare Church was summed up in 3 words? Ready? Here it is. Let's make friends. Would that be, I mean, all of a sudden we take this call from God for making disciples from this, are you crazy? I don't know how to make a disciple. That'd be like me trying to make a microwave. I know when you put stuff in there and push the button, it makes it hot. I don't have a clue how. And a lot of people are like, I don't have a clue how to make a disciple. I just want to know, do you know how to make a friend? Make friends. Brilliant strategy, in my opinion. I thanked the Lord for that when he spoke that into my heart the other day. And I thought, Lord, I think that fits right within our mission statement, which is to build bridges of hope. How do you do that? Make friends. What if it, yeah, but you're like, that's great if you like them. What if you don't like them? Now what? You know, remember Acts chapter 1 says when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, you will be my witnesses where? Downtown Wright, Jerusalem. Right? Jerusalem. Judea. Okay, yeah, Gillette, Upton, Newcastle, Midwest. Well, nobody goes there, right? Where? Where's that? Who are the Samaritans? Casper. That's awesome. Those are the people, they don't vote like us, they don't think like us, they don't dress like us. Jackson Hole. Making friends exactly there. Exactly there. So I want to ask you, do you have any friends who are far from God? Cultivate those. And realize that in that friendship, you're as one sent. And the Jesus you follow has time for them, not as a project. Just love them. What did I say? Love them. And what is love? How do we define it here? You before me. Simple. Let's make friends. Number 3. As you and I follow Jesus, and here's this next truth embedded in this story, and it's a challenging one. As we follow Jesus, don't let all you're doing get in the way of your becoming. Martha had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. Have you ever had somebody over for dinner? Surprise! We've got guests. Now, I've been to Mandy Rob's house, and they make dinner. It's like on, like Donkey Kong, right? Like but then all of a sudden, there's a family that's coming. Now, what do? Hey, I'm just so happy you're here. Let's just hang out. Man is like, no. But by the way, so I learned this watching Jewel. And I think, girls, you're all the same, and guys don't get it. It's like, If you find out they're coming and they're bringing the Mongol horde with them, what do? You spend a week cleaning your house. I mean, from stem to stern and every little last little thing. And guys are like, why? It's the same question of make your bed. Why? I'm going to sleep in it again tonight. Clean the house? Are you nuts? They're going to make a mess and we're going to have to clean it after. And she's like, yeah. Ugh. So you can imagine all of a sudden open the door and here's Jesus and they're like, come on in. And Martha's like, crap. I mean, how many disciples we got? Can you do math? How many they got? 12. Plus Jesus. So you ever fed 13 guys? Here's another thing. If you're a young lady here, you're in high school or college, I want to teach you something about guys. Do you know how much food guys will eat? All of it. You make a little, they eat it all. You make a lot, they eat it all. Am I right? Just a little guy thing there for you ladies. As much as you make, we'll keep eating it. Especially if it starts with a B, ends with an F, and has two E's in the middle. You know, if you want to have a legit guy barbecue, you know how you do that? You just bring out the elk and you bring out all the wild game and you start the grill. You don't need nothing else. Guys will stand around the grill and pick it right off, right? That's a good barbecue, yeah. You got any beer, right? Yeah, beef and beer. That's how that works. As you follow Jesus, don't let your doing get in the way of your becoming. Jesus is not impressed with your distracted activities. Well, I just do so much. Your doing, my doing, here it is, and you write this down. If you don't have room on your paper, write it on your neighbor's jeans or on their neck. If they're in front of you, just write it on the back of their neck. Our doing can and often becomes a cover for our shallowness. I just do. You know, I'm a usher, and then I like clean stuff, and I make crafts for the kids, and then I make meals, and I say, yeah, but are you growing? What? Yeah, but I do this stuff for God. Disciples, please listen to me. I primarily not designed to be the doers, though we serve. We're primarily designed to be becomers. Becoming trumps doing every time. Becoming more like Jesus trumps doing more for Jesus every time. Am I saying, well, it's just a love fest, we don't have anything to do? Well, that's silly. But it's why we do church as a teams, because if there's a lot of people doing, it makes the work what? Lighter. And gives us room and time for what Jesus said about Mary was the better thing. In fact, the best thing. Sitting at his feet and listening. You know what Mary has basically said, Christina? Which, by the way, it's so good to see you. You know what he's basically saying is, we could wait to eat. I didn't come here to eat. I came here to see you. We're like, no, we came to eat. I mean, if you've been to church like ever in your life, you know we eat a lot. I mean, we're good at that, right? But Jesus has not come for that. He's come for the conversation. He's come for the relationship. And I bet $1 million if Martha hadn't been all that distracted, he'd have said, Peter and John, you go in there and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if you're hungry. It'll all be fine. And then, Martha would have really been, what? Those guys are going to be in my kitchen. And it would have been all fun time to teach stuff. Jesus is not impressed with our distracted activities. Becoming more like him is what he's after. Because you see, the advance of the kingdom requires that. I can't advance the kingdom or Jesus in me with Zebby if it's not advancing in me. But often in the church, isn't that right, Hope? If your para and those kids are in the ag class, if you're not already ahead of them, how do you help them? So I've got to be on my way, right, Vondell? That's the title of this series. And so if you start asking these subtle questions, on the way to where, Pastor Jim? I would say this morning's truth nugget is, on the way to whom am I becoming? That's really the question. And I ended here in this spot just because I'm pretty passionate about devotions. Daily devotions put us at Jesus' feet and keep us on the right road. So, Jewel and I have a wonderful friend, and they've been our dear friends for well in excess of 30 years. His wife, Marcy, who went home to be with the Lord through uterine cancer 6 years ago now. We're on our staff in Southern California, the church we pastor, and just great, incredible friends. Well, one year they came to visit us in Helena, and we went to Glacier. Anybody ever been to Glacier? Nobody been to Glacier? You've been to Glacier? Road to the Sun. Been on that road? Right. It's like you go up and up and up and up and up, and over this side, it's like far down. It's like go to the Grand Canyon. And you've got to get this in your mind. My friend Doug is 6'4", 365 pounds. He's a bruiser. He's huge. He's an Orange County detective who just retired, and so he's armed, all the time. And we're on the road to the Sun, and he's sitting on the side closest to the down. Well, all of a sudden I turn around, and he's in Marcy's lap. And she's like, dude, get off me, you're huge. And he's like, we're going to die. I said, no, there's a guardrail. He's like, but it's little. I said, trust me, it'll be fine. Nobody goes off this unless you want to go off it. Devotions are like the guardrail on the canyon road. The rumble strips on the road that wake you up when you think you're going to go to sleep. They keep us on the right road. So how's your daily devotions? Are you in the Word? If you need help with that, see me. We'll get you hooked up with a life journal. We'll get you in a life group. It's not rocket science. Time with God, regularly, consistently. So we're going to end with this series of questions. Where's Jesus going in your life? Perhaps the next level of that question is, where's he sending you? Out ahead? Or are you just, I'm with Jesus. We're in lockstep. Good, because every now and then I find myself out there going, hey, Jesus, I feel out ahead. He's like, yeah, I know. I sent you out there. And just in case you think this is a little odd, in Jesus' day, in Eastern culture, there are sheep herders that we call what? What do you call a sheep herder? I can make fun of Gary, but his whole family's not here this morning. They're out camping, whatever. Shepherds. Well, what do shepherds do? They herd sheep, watch sheep. You got them in the story of the Nativity, and it's really cool to get the shepherds and all that. But in Jesus' day, shepherds were known to be thieves because they steal each other's sheep. Like I get my sheep next to your sheep, and a few of your sheep come my way. Who knows the difference, right? It's not like we brand a sheep. Well, we do now. Why do you think? So nobody rustles the sheep, because sheep herders are notorious rustlers. Well, part of the reason why is the leaders of sheep, ever been around sheep, there's always one that's going to go with, it's in the front, and everybody follows. Shepherds would take those sheep that were really close, really knew him and heed them, and place them in a wild place and leave them. Days, weeks, months. Guess why? Come back later and call their name, and they come and they got friends. Because in the wide world out there, there's no fences in his day. They can get away. Jesus likes to do that with you. Guys will come here all the time. I just work in such a dark place, Pastor Jim. It's just horrible. I'm at the mine. You ever heard those guys? They're so horrible. I'm like, dude, he put you there on purpose. You're sent. What? Why? Because there's sheep out there. Just stand up for him. Start a life group on your job and see what happens. I'll get laughed out of there. Bet not. Oh, there'll be some, but you're going to find some sheep out there. They're going to want to connect. I think waitresses are the best at leading waitresses to Jesus. I think miners are the best at leading coal miners to Jesus. You work in the oil field, live hot for God. Sent. The advance of the kingdom. What is Jesus really about? The harvest and your participation in it. And you feel all alone out there? Well, pray for help. So that's question number one. Question number two. These get harder. Do you ever take a test and like the first question is like, oh, I know this is going to be easy. Then you get to the next question and Maya's like, of course, Maya, she knows all the answers, right, all the time, right? She's shaking her head. No, I don't. That's why I study so hard. Will I follow his instructions. You cannot follow Jesus very long without bumping into your own will that has to be ruled over by his. It's hard, isn't it? Well, Lord, I don't want to go do that. I don't want to start a business, Lord. I don't want to go have that conversation with those people, Lord. I don't want Dwight to have gone on to heaven already. I don't want that, Lord. But it comes obvious then that Jesus is saying, but I'm moving. Will you go with me? Will you follow my instructions? I hope your answer is yes, yes, and yes again. And when it gets hard, you'll say, Lord, please help me say yes. Isn't that what Jesus said in the Garden of Gethsemane? I don't want to drink this cup. Jesus doesn't have any problem with your, I don't want to do this. And it's not really obedience until you don't want to. And then choose to. Question number 3. Who am I making friends with that are far from God? Do you have anybody on your radar? Jewel and I will occasionally say, who can we invite over for dinner? And we'll kind of go through the list. And it's like, yeah, but is there anybody on that list that we know is far from him? When we were younger, God would always bring to us, and I don't know why he did this, it was always teenagers. You know, we ended up with a household. Man, one time we looked around, we had like 35 high schoolers in our house, and we're like, where did all you people come from? Well, he invited me, and she invited me, and Jules like, I guess we've got to cook for all these people, right? And it was just, that's just the way our life was. What's your life like? Is it messy with people in it? I hope it is, because that's where Jesus goes. No, our house is clean to a T. Everything's in a shiny, and it's so. I love what this one teacher said one time. He said, if you're a mom of toddlers and you want a clean house, buy a magazine and look at the pictures, because that's the closest you're going to get. Last question. Somebody turn over your neighbor, and Jackson's like he's watching. Dude, I'm a minute over. You're supposed to keep me on that. Come on. Will I engage the better work of becoming? Or am I covering my shallow with doing? I love that song saying, I want to go deeper. I want to go deeper. Let's pray. Father, thank you today for your word that's so alive. Lord, as we sat in it this morning, would you build into our hearts these truths? And as we engage the questions, would you lead us through to a discovery process that takes us deeper, closer to you, into the harvest? Lord, as we as a church give our hearts to make friends. Last week we said, let's get wrecked together. Let's find reasons to going on. And who's it? Lord, would you lead us into friendships with people that need you? And would you empower and equip us to have what it takes in those situations, in those geographies, with those people, to build bridges of hope. We'll give you all the thanks and all the praise. And as we live in this holiday weekend, would you just give lots of barbecues and joy? And Lord, we've got multiple families out there camping and enjoying this weekend. Would you bless them wherever they are and give them the best fun? And may they know in their hearts that they are of us and us of them, and that we have such a wonderful connection and relationship together. And we'll give you thanks for it. In Jesus' name we said, amen. Have an awesome day. Look forward to next week. It's going to be great as we continue this series. Thanks, Luke.